Hello, my name is Ashley, this is Faithful Rattos, and welcome or welcome back. Okay, so in today's video, I'm actually going to address something that was in the comments of my last video, where I was introducing you to the keepers I kept from my first ever litter that I bred myself. And in that video, I was speaking about how I was picking rats for type and build, and somebody asked, how can we assess our own rats? And like, what exactly are you talking about? Can you go through that a little bit? Now, I want to put a disclaimer here that if you just have rats as pets and you're not planning to breed them or anything like that, and you're also not necessarily planning to show them, it's not usually a huge deal what their type is. This is really something that is, or should be, I should say, at the forefront of breeders' mind, and something that judges are looking at when it comes to showing. If you aren't really interested in variety showing, then it's probably not even relevant to you. But if you want to learn how to assess, I shouldn't probably have brought Lyra for this section just yet, because she is trying to escape. Lyra, where even are you? This isn't something that like an average pet owner needs to do. This isn't something that I think you need to know how to do necessarily, unless you are interested in showing in varieties and you want to know like what if your rats have a chance to do well, or if you are planning to breed rats, and then this does become very important. When we're talking about type and conformation, this is the body structure of your rat, as well as like muscle tone and things like this. So this is like the physical structure, the basis of your rat. This does include condition, which is like coat condition, weight condition, that sort of stuff. But type and like structure, you can't like change. That is always going to be there, regardless of the condition of the rat as well. Those two things do go hand in hand, and I'm going to talk to you about them today. I thought it'd be easier if we start from the tip to the tail. So if we start with the head, and then we talk about everything going on with the head, the body, and then the tail after. So when you are assessing type in a rat, it is going to differ slightly for male and female. And once you get your hands on a lot of different rats, you will be able to feel the difference between males and females and the difference in the optimal type for them. I do also want to say that certain people have different preferences, and that's okay within the sort of scope of what is good type for a rat. Personally, head is one of my favorite things. So when the head is really good, I favor the rat overall. But yeah, so this is Lyra. She is one of the keepers that I kept, and I'm going to be using her to talk about doe type. And then I will also, after that, I will pick out one of my books to show you the difference in type. So if we start with the head, when it comes to the head, I don't know if she's going to stay still. You do want a little bit of definition. Okay, stay still, babe. You do want I don't know whether you can actually see this. And again, type is much easier to assess when you have hold of the rat. It's not something you can merely see on screen. But I like to have definition at the brow bone, as you can see there. You don't want it to be too severe. And books will have a little bit more definition usually. And I'll show you an example of that with my boys. But you do want there to be a definition at the brow bone, and you want the head and then the nose to be of equal length. So you don't want them to be sort of like out of ratio. You want the head to have a bit of length. You don't want it to be too short, but you also don't want it to be too long and pointy. You don't want it to be too wide at the base. This is sometimes what happens with Dumbos, and Dumbos especially. I'll actually get a Dumbo book out to show you. Dumbos especially, you need to watch head type, although I do think just the placement of the ears changes just how it looks, not necessarily how the structure of the head is. Then on the head, we're also looking at eyes. You want them to be nice and big and round. Does often have an easier time of having good eyes, just for being the fairer sex. And this is one of the things that makes a really striking rat, is when they have really nice eyes. When it comes to ears, it's kind of hard to tell when they are being held because they don't hold them very well. But what you want are open, round, uncreased ears. Lyra has pretty ears, but she's not going to show them. She's not going to show them when I'm holding her like this. But she has a really nice head. Lovely girl. Now, when it comes to body, for a doe, you want them to be long and racy. She growing, she is getting a little longer and a little racier. She is a bit more of a cobby doe. She's a bit more sort of short and compact. So you do want to have a nice, long, racy doe. That is the optimal type. You also want there to be really easy to feel muscle cover all over their body, and you don't want their shoulders to feel less wide than the rest of their body. I've mentioned this in a video when I talked about weight. You want them to feel like a solid tube with no in and outy bits, basically. And so one thing that I often find is that rats lack shoulder, that their back end can be quite muscly, but around the shoulder they're lacking. And this is generally genetic type that we're seeing, but we can also get this in like the adolescent phase, especially with bucks, and certain does do have sort of lacking around the shoulder type. So that is what the body should feel like. And then when it comes to the tail, we have one thing: the tail should be thick and round. We shouldn't have squared edges. It should be thick and strong, very muscly. Okie dokie. And it should be about the same length as the body. If you sort of look like this, we should be the same length as the body or longer, just to be in ratio. And then when it comes to the tail base, this is what you might see people talking about chopped rump. She's not a fan of being held right now, so I'm just going to quickly finish this. What you want, and you can't really see this when she's being held, but the best rats will have a tail that just looks like it flows across part of their body, and that it doesn't just look stuck on at the end like with a glue stick. That is what's called a chop rump, and the tail doesn't really flow with the rest of the body. It just sort of looks stuck on at the end. And so those are the main things that you're looking for with type. That isn't the only thing that judges are looking for. We are looking at condition, so coat condition, body condition. Are they underweight, overweight, or just right? We're also looking, are they clean and healthy looking and stuff like that. And then we do also take colour and markings into consideration. But those are the main things. I'm going to get a book. I'm going to put Lyra back and then get a book to show you the differences. This is Lyra's brother, Porter. And as you can see, he's obviously quite a bit bigger than her and generally is broader and stockier. This is sort of the more book-like. You're not showing off your type very well here. That's generally the book-like structure that you're looking for. They look a bit like a brick, but still they are tubular up and down with no sort of like sticky outy bits or going any bits. Now, as you can see, because he's Dumbo, his head does look a different shape, but that's just because of the placement of the ears. So when you're breeding Dumbos, you are trying to make sure they aren't being bred with too wider head or too triangular of a head. That's something that you do need to take into consideration. But as you can see, he does have a little bit more of, I don't know whether you can see this, but he does have a little bit of a more square head. His brow bone is a little bit more defined, and that's because he's a buck. Bucks and does, once you get to know them pretty well, the average type, you can tell by like face and sort of like build, whether it's a buck or a doe. Also size as well. As you can see, he's much bigger than she was. But yeah, and then Dumbo ears. He has pretty good Dumbo ears. The ideal for Dumbo is as the same as top is, obviously it's in a different position. Open, round, and uncreased. With Dumbo ears, there's actually a few different shapes that you can often find. The first one is this nice round one, which is the preference. You do also have tulip-shaped ears and then like tubular ears. I actually had a rat that had one open ear and one tubular ear. I don't know why the differences in the Dumbo ears exist, but they do. Yeah, so that is basically the differences in the buck and doe type. You can see just by holding him that he's a buck. Obviously, he's got balls and everything, but his type is just bigger and broader than a doe's. And if your bucks have a slightly racier or slimmer type, not slimmer as in like weight, but like thinner, like, you don't get what I mean, like slimmer type, they can be called a little bit girly. And also if they have a narrower head, you may see that being called a feminine head, because bucks tend to have a broader head and just broader features in general, and that's the difference. So those are the ways that you that me as a breeder and as a trainee judge are looking at a rat and assessing for type. These things cannot really be done by looks alone. You really do need to have a handle on the rats and feel them. Okay, dude, you're blocking my mic. So yeah, you really do need to have a handle of a rat, and it also takes time and handling lots of different rats to get a good idea of what's going on. It's just not something you can do the first time you try, and it's not something you can do just on pictures. You can assess sometimes eyes, ears, and head shape from pictures, but general type and build and conformation and stuff like that, it's where are you trying to go, buddy? It's really difficult. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful for those who asked about it. And I do want to reiterate that it's not super important if your rats are just pets. Whoa! If your rats are just pets and you're not planning to breed, and you're not really interested in showing in varieties, you don't need to worry about this. But I just wanted to address this because there were some people on my previous video who were asking about this. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you like this type of content, if you want to see more from me in my own rat keeping and breeding journey, please do stick around and subscribe. I also have channel memberships turned on. There's lots of different perks at different price points. So yeah, thanks. Oh dear. Thanks. Oh dear. Where are you going? Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.